In this episode, we speak with Dra. Cristina Aguirre. Her story expands 26 years of advocating and pursuing opportunities for our youth in getting access to higher education. Her story begins in the central fields of California and now expands into San Diego, California. Her resilience and tenacity are something to focus on as the conversation takes place. We dive deep into a few of the moments that impacted her and left a mark as a young individual that still linger to this day. We talk about her core values and how those really guide her every career move. Let's get started with the conversation. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Success Innovation. Today we have the pleasure of having Dra. Cristina Aguirre, who is the Chief Programs Officer at the Barrio Logan College Institute, where she leads efforts to expand college access and success for first-generation and under-the-served students. A first-generation college graduate herself and the daughter of immigrant field workers, Dra. Aguirre has dedicated her career to advancing educational equity, drawing on more than 15 years of experience with TRIO. TRIO refers to a group of federally funded programs in the United States designed to help students from disadvantaged backgrounds succeed in funded programs for education and college access programs. She holds a doctorate in educational leadership with an emphasis in social justice and is widely recognized for her leadership, advocacy, and commitment to breaking barriers for students navigating towards higher education. In total, she has been advocating for educational success for 26 years. Welcome, Dra. Cristina Aguirre, to Success Innovation. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm excited to be here. And wow, when you say 26 years, I'm like, ooh, that's a
It,
lot.
it, it seems like a long time, but honestly, my personal experience, when I look back, I'm like, when I was in high school, it just seems like yesterday to me, right? But
Mhm. Yeah.
that's a point of objective, subjective perspective that I have, and I think a lot of us go through that. But we should definitely applaud ourselves and our dedication to some of the time that we've spent doing certain things. For example, you 26 years advocating for success and educational access. That's fantastic. I'm pretty sure you've touched so many lives, and we'll get into some of those stories a little bit later on. But right now, I did a brief introduction. Is there anything that I possibly missed or that you want to add into that short bio that I summarized for you?
I think you captured most of everything that I've been doing. But like you said, I've been here 26 years. So I think that short bio is going to be good instead of getting
Okay.
into the nitty-gritty. Other than that, I love soccer and I love to cook outside of work. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Do you play soccer or you love to watch soccer?
I actually used to play soccer a lot. Now that I'm kind of older, I got to take care of myself. I did injure my knee, so that kind of put me on the bench now, but now I watch it more than I play.
Okay. Do you watch any particular sport or just regular MLS or Mexican
Well,
Liga or anything?
the World Cup, when it comes around, that's
Yeah.
the most exciting time to watch football.
Yeah.
But yes, I will watch the women's here in San Diego, the Wave, and
The
then
way.
as well as the men's FC team. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Um, we all have core values, whether we actually sit down and write them down or not. And I'm pretty sure that you have core values. And being such an advocate for education, being a leader, I'm pretty sure that you've taken time to actually write them down or at least think about what your core values are. I would love if you could definitely share with me and the audience two of your main core values and why are they so important to you?
Yeah, I actually I really love this question. We do it a lot with our team because when you really reflect on this, a lot of the times your values kind of reflect in the space that you're in right now. And but for me, my number one core value has been with me throughout time and time again is going to be family. Family is always first. I think this really draws in as far as like the community that you build within your work, your family that you have surrounding you, even the family that's not by blood, right? And by having a family that can support you, show you love, have the same goals, whether it's in your professional and or your personal life. To me, just having that unit keeps me going, and I feel like I'm very fortunate that I also get to work in a place where that's our number one value is family. We show up for family, family shows up for us, and that's how we lead our heart is our family will always come first, whether it's by blood or outside of blood.
Okay,
Um,
that's awesome. Familia, family, that's very important. That really resonates with you and honestly with the first gen students that you're trying to help, right? Because they rely heavily first on their immediate family, but
mhm.
then you're trying to make this community and build that familia sense so that they feel supported into going and pursuing higher education. And you're there to give them some sort of guidance as best as possible. So that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of first gen, in your bio, we talked about you being a first gen student, a first gen college attendee and graduate, and also the daughter of farming immigrants, right? And that's in a sense a mouthful. And for you, I mean, if you could walk us back, what was you grew up somewhere in the central area of California, Fresno, close to that area. So literally the heartland of the farming industry of California. If you could walk us back a little bit as to what was your upbringing like in the early stages, and then how did you actually decide to pursue going to college?
All right, that's taking me back a lot. So this will probably take a while to kind of encompass, but I'll try to keep it short. But I know that talking about my story, my roots, and where I come from is really important because it does really kind of show where I come from and why I use the lens that I move forward with, right? Whether it's my professional life or personal life. So as you mentioned, yeah, I grew up in Central California. We didn't really talk about college in our home. I am the eldest of, well, I have two older brothers, but I am the eldest when it comes to the girls. So I really had a lot of responsibilities at the house. So that's mostly what I knew. But but as you mentioned, I did work in the farms and in the fields. And what my father told us when we were picking the grapes, and something that is ingrained in my mind and something that I wake up to every single day, is he pretty much told us that aquí te quedarás si no obtienes una educación. So here is where you would stay if you don't get an education. Um, I've been in the field with my parents since probably since 2 years old. My mom would put me in the cart picking the eggs while she did that. When I worked in the fields, I would lay the sheets out for her for the grapes. When I was in middle school, they made me pick my own row, while my sisters put the sheets down for me. But one other thing that really sticks with me, as far as my experience working in the fields, and was probably one of the hardest jobs, is tying the vines during the winter there in Fresno. And it's harder because it's in the dead winter season. It's super cold in Central California. Not to mention you're dealing with fog, a very thick fog, right? And you're doing this at 5 a.m. in the morning. You're tying the vines, and there was this particular day where one of the vines, I didn't tie it tight enough, and it got loose and it slapped me across the face, and that stung really, really bad. It left me a scar. I still have it. You probably can't see it. But that same day, I also had to go to a basketball tournament. I was also really involved in sports. And to go from doing something in the fields to then going to do a tournament, that to me was like, I can't do this. I understand what my dad is saying, that this is not the type of life that you want to continue to have. And so that was in middle school. And so I told myself when I get into high school, I need to do better. I need to make sure that I'm preparing myself to go beyond high school, as no one in my family has graduated high school. So that was gonna in itself be a challenge. But when I got into high school, my very first year, I ran into the situation where, unfortunately, my brothers didn't do that well in high school. And I was in similar classes that they had. And so the teachers kind of already made their mind up as far as, oh, you're related to the Aguirres. And so you're just going to end up dropping out too. You're just going to get pregnant. So having that stigma, what I needed to do at that time is I went to see my counselor and I told her I wanted to be in the honor courses. I wanted to be in the AP classes, classes that my brothers were not in, so that I wouldn't continue to hear those negative voices. And so that kind of started the trajectory of putting myself on the right path. Come senior year, I didn't know what to do, but I was very fortunate that I surrounded myself with a group of friends who had that same goal of going to college. And they're the ones who were like, "Hey, did you do your application? The deadline is coming up. Hey, did you do your FAFSA? That's coming up." And it was because of them that I made it to college. It wasn't because of my counselor, because when I went to see her and asked for the forms, what for? You're going to end up dropping out. I would get the same message, right? Or you're just going to end up going to community college and still dropping out. So I really credit my friends at that time, who I'm still really good friends with. We stay in touch. We all of us were first ones in our family to graduate, to go on to college and get that degree. So I do credit that to them. And so yeah, got
So,
accepted, and then the journey begins.
for a lot of first gen students, applying is the first step. You
Hmm.
apply, but then the looming storm of how do I pay for this
Hmm.
is there. So, can you walk us through how did you work that out? How did that conversation take shape for yourself
Hmm.
and then with your parents saying, "Hey, I'm applying to college," and then right now we're in the acceptance season of college. A lot of students are getting accepted, and they're thinking, "How am I gonna pay for this education? And is this a right investment for me to do?" To one, fill out the FAFSA form, and if I don't get enough, where do I actually apply for scholarships, and how do I actually pursue getting that education if I have to come out with a huge debt? So how did you deal with that personally?
You know, personally and honestly, like that just was not the conversation that I had with my parents. I still kind of had to do that on my own. I did get the information that I needed from my parents, but I think they were under the assumption that I was going to stay in Fresno and go to school. But when that day actually came to kind of tell my parents, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to San Diego." Like, I know that if I stayed in Fresno, if I continued to stay in that space where I didn't have a lot of support, that I was scared. I was scared that I was going to fail. And I knew that I needed to get away to push myself to accomplish those goals and dreams that I had. So my conversation with my parents was like, "Hey, I'm leaving. You don't have to worry about anything because I qualified for all the grants, and I didn't get any scholarships because that's not something that I learned while I was in high school. And those are the things that we really do emphasize, working at BLCI. But it really was, I was on my own, and I just had to tell my parents, and they had to kind of trust that I was doing the right thing in securing what I needed, going to UC San Diego.
Awesome. So you get to UC San Diego, worlds away literally from Fresno or the Central Valley of California. And you did mention that, that conversation with your parents about the finances wasn't really the biggest obstacle. The biggest obstacle
Mhm.
was moving away, right? Now that you're at UCSD, your first quarter, because UCSD is a quarter system, and I want you to remember some of the biggest obstacles to maybe being adjusting to a new area, or maybe even adjusting to, hey, I'm not the biggest, smartest person that I'm used to, and coming to that realization or that truth level setting of, oh, wow, okay, there's people that are brighter, there's people that are more prepared, there's people with more opportunities out there than what I'm coming in with. how did you deal with those obstacles? And maybe some of the audience can actually benefit from that.
Mm, you're taking me way back. Oh boy. It definitely was a struggle to transition. One, as you mentioned, it was a quarter system and not something that I was used to, where you start the class and in 2 weeks you have a midterm. And then the 5 weeks later, you have the finals. And that really did hit me in terms of not being academically prepared for that and having the right tools to do time management, create good study habits, especially at a pace that's going faster than what you were used to, right? So yeah, so needless to say, my first quarter, I didn't do the greatest. I think I was on academic probation. Had to go to summer school over the summer and really work my second year, to bring back my GPA. But there's other things that were going on that were part of that obstacle, and one of it was really being homesick. I wasn't used to being far away that long. I traveled when I was in my sports during high school, but maybe just gone for like 2 nights, and that's probably about it. But moving my entire life and being there, it got lonely. I did, however, participate in the TRIO student support services there at UCSD, and that is where I was able to create a comunidad, una familia, right there, that we were able to support one another. And I was fortunate enough that I had friends who were, hey, if you can't make it home for the holidays, you can come home with us, right? Because you have that financial barrier as well, that I couldn't go home as often as you saw other students doing that. Although I was very fortunate in having that family there, it still got lonely. And I know there's a lot of people that talk about imposter syndrome. There's also the self-sabotage syndrome, because I was wanting to be closer or be able to visit my family more. I started to, although I was doing good back in my grades, just redoing the forms like the FAFSA say, I was already in my mind telling myself, just miss the deadline. If you miss the deadline, you're not going to have the money to come back, right? But this is why I do credit TRIO Student Support Services, because when I met with my counselor, he asked me, "Have you submitted?" And I was like, "No." He sat me down and made me do it right then and there. So like I say, if it wasn't for them, I would have not stayed and completed my bachelor's at UCSD. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. That's interesting. That's really, as you said, the imposter syndrome, we hear about that, but the self-sabotaging, we don't really hear that much open conversation. And I know that it does happen because we call it procrastination, but why do we procrastinate? If we really want to do something, we get on top of it, right? But if we know we have to do something, why do we put it off? Why do we postpone it? I think that's, like you said, self-sabotaging. And there's got to be some sort of reason behind that. And I'm glad that you brought that open, and that's an interesting perspective. So, that being said, fast forward a couple of years, you graduate, successfully. Congratulations for graduating UCSD. And then now you went through additional college and additional education. You got additional certification. And now you're leading and supporting the efforts with Barrio Logan College Institute. So can you tell us a little bit about what this organization, this institution really does?
Yeah. I actually want to start off by sharing what a parent said, because they were part of my research, my dissertation, and it just has really rang perfectly with what BLCI does. And this is a dad that just started the program, and he said, "Aquí cuidan los sueños de nuestros hijos." It's just so powerful to hear that about an organization that he felt takes care of the dreams of his kids. And what are those dreams? And those dreams are, especially because we work with families that have just immigrated to the United States, and those dreams are about their children being able to have access to a good education, to go on to college. And so at BLCI, we get to do that. We get to take care of the dreams of these families that are coming over for a better life. And these are so the first ones in their families to go to college. They can start in our program as early as third grade, all the way through senior year. We'll get them into college. 100% of our students go on and enroll into college. And we still follow them. We stay in touch while they're in college because we know that those first 2 years are really, really crucial for them to persist and then go on to graduate from college. But yeah, I love working at Barrio Logan College Institute. As I say, my first core value is familia, and that's what we do. We take care of these dreams as a familia. The parents are involved in this journey as well. We do have workshops for them to help support their child not through high school, and then how to support them also while they're in college. But I hope that in a nutshell helps to kind of understand what BLCI does.
It does make a lot of sense. So, you brought up an interesting recollection of a father, nonetheless, saying, "Hey, ustedes cuidan los sueños de nuestros hijos. You guys safeguard the dreams and the hopes of our children, right?" But is there an additional memory, or what's the best memory or recollection that you hold from either leading this particular institution or any other recollection along your path as an educational advocate?
Hands down, and it's a memory that will always be embedded in my mind, is we we get the opportunity to do our own graduation ceremony for our students. So our fifth graders going on to sixth grade, our eighth graders going into ninth, and then our seniors going off to college. But we also invite our alumni to come back who are also graduating from college. And the memory that it's so beautiful is to see the parents see their child accomplish that dream as they're walking across that stage. It's like you see their eyes. There's a brightness to them as far as not only pride but love that they were able to complete their dreams and that journey, that why they came over here. And our alumni will give beautiful speeches about their experience and their journey, and giving advice to the younger ones that are sitting there, right? Because I mentioned we have the little ones going on to middle school to high school. It's a beautiful ceremony for everyone to kind of see the full circle of the work that all of us at BLCI are doing, not just myself, our specialists, even our operations development team, to our CEO, our volunteers, our tutors. That is the culmination of this, the family of BLCI, the staff, being able to do this for the families that are part of this program.
Awesome. So those graduations really hold a special place
Always,
in
yes.
inviting those alumni. You've been advocating for 26 years, but you've been helping and supporting Trio for, I believe, 15 of those years, right? And
Yes.
you're essentially an alumni of
Yep.
Trio, right?
Hmm.
I noticed and I saw that you recently attended and participating, advocating for Trio once again in Washington, D.C. And this is the 10th time that you're actually doing this. Why is advocating for Trio such an important part of your advocacy effort? And what can we do to further impact as an audience and maybe as possible advocates to advocate for this program as well? I mean, if we can't go to Washington, D.C., what
Yeah.
can we do? But to you, going to Washington, D.C., what does that mean?
Well, it's actually was 20 years that I was been advocating now over in DC. Um, but for me, it really was about being able to be in spaces that we never thought we would be able to be in. Growing up, hearing the word civically engaged, that wasn't a word that we heard, and I really do credit being a professional in Trio, in our professional organization West Stop COE, to teach us that our voice matters, and we have to be able, if we have the opportunities to be in that space where they can see us, and sharing our stories as to like why that is important. And as you mentioned, I am an alumna of UCSD Trio SSS, and as I shared my story, I couldn't be here without their help and making sure that I basically filled out that FAFSA, right? Um, and I want to ensure that those who come after me have that same opportunity, because it's just really important to have the resources that TRIO programs provide, whether it's the guidance, whether it's showing up for them, um, pushing them, making sure they're not self-sabotaging in those moments. But I want to make sure that these programs are still here as long as that need is still needed, and there is. We first generation students are still far behind as far as when it comes to the graduation rates or even getting into college. So it's still an important thing, and they will continue to be one of my passions until we're able to get at that level playing field in terms of the same percentage of students going into college as those who might come from a different economic background or have access and have parents who have gone through college.
Okay, that's great. That's awesome, and that's fantastic. So right now, from what I hear, I mean, you're literally at an intersection of access and opportunity for the community, for the first-gen students, right? Which that really means that there's the opportunity for them to continue moving forward. But in real innovation, it really goes beyond some of those programs, right? Can you share a specific moment where you actually realized that the traditional approach wasn't necessarily enough and you had to think outside the box to serve your students?
So, this question, yeah, a little more thought into it, but the one thing that really comes to mind was when we had to pivot and really think about our services when COVID hit.
Mm.
We were very face forward in terms of hands on. We had to be in person, connecting right with the students that we work with and the parents. But one of the things that we learned because of this experience is we were able to get more participation from parents actually online.
Mm.
And I'm using parents because they're a huge part of the programming that we do to make sure that our students are successful. And we can't do this work without their engagement. So learning to pivot and be able to continue since COVID, provide workshops online, in person, or hybrid has really increased our parents being able to engage with us, because we do require our parents to do 30 hours of participation. And whether it's online or in person, they've been showing up more because we just have to realize that their schedules are different. They might not have the same access as others to come in person, right? So if online helps, then that's what we'll do, just to ensure our parents are still getting the services, the workshops that they want to be a part of, whether it's in person or online. I would say that's been one of the biggest programmatic changes that we've been able to include that continues to have a positive impact for our students.
That's very interesting. So out of COVID, this good thing came off where
Yeah,
you realized, hey,
yeah.
we're getting more engagement. The parents are actually jumping in a little more and engaging more with our virtual online efforts and workshops and whatnot. Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
At the big, it was a struggle at first because we did have to teach our parents how to manage or how to use the platform.
Okay.
There was times where we would hear them in the background, "Get us un taco." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, but it's online, you know." So it was fun. It was fun, but
Yeah,
they're
how to push that
professionals
mute
now at it. Yeah,
button. How to
yeah,
push
they're
that mute
professionals.
button at
Yeah,
the appropriate time, right? Okay, get
we're
it,
like,
get it.
"Señora, turn it off." Yeah.
No, it's part of the learning process, I guess, for all of us, honestly. So
Mhm. Yeah.
there's really a difference between helping students navigate through the system, and as you well noted, sometimes the system's broken and or it doesn't really fit into some of those students and their situation, right? And actually changing that system is something that you're trying to do to some extent. Where do you actually draw the line in your work, and what does it look like to actually challenge the system while still supporting the students within that system?
Great question. Great question. Yeah, because it's we definitely want to challenge and break down some of these structures that are not working for the families, the students, the communities that we are working with. But one of the things that we do, and as I kind of try to be an example, right, is to be engaged with that process and actually showing up, someone of my background, someone of my color, being there is to me actually breaking some of those structures down so that others can see that we belong here. Our voices matter, and that's where we really try to educate our students on, to be engaged, and even our parents. We've had students that have now done internships in Sacramento, the capital. Students who are doing internships with our assembly member, David Alvarez. They're helping him with the bills that he's been able to write, especially when it impacts education. So that participation, I feel like that's helping break some of those structures down. And by just being there, it will help others to kind of keep pushing the system and molding, not molding it, but restructuring it so that it is something that is a benefit to all of us, even the parents, right? We teach them about their rights. And funny story, we saw a parent actually talking to another parent and motivating her and telling her about her rights when she needed to go to the school and talk about an IEP with their child. And it was like it was one of those beautiful moments that what we're teaching, whether it's a parent or the students, they're passing it along to those that are part of BLCI. They Our parents have been part of the RLA leadership program, and that helped them get the skills to push for putting, say, a stop sign near our building so that it's safer for the kids to cross, right? But I would say for me, being a part, not only engaging, but because we are showing up in these spaces that we didn't think we could be a part of, is really starting to chip away and breaking some of those barriers, yeah, and structures.
It's awesome. And you kind of hinted at a next question because you brought up a recollection on that, right? Is there something that you're really proud of or an achievement that you've been a catalyst or motivator during your leadership at Barrio Logan College Institute that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think when I think about it, and if it's okay, I'll share a professional and personal like thing that
Yeah,
I've
for sure.
achieved there. But I'll start off with my professional, and this was really something that I've learned with my master's program and with my doctorate, is really learning how to harness the data. How can we use it to tell the stories? And put a face to a number, not just collecting the data. Let's put it together. Let's show how we're doing. But how can we collect this data to make it more meaningful to our constituents, to our partners, to our collaborators, whoever it may be. Uh, but after completing my dissertation, I feel very proud because I was able to work with the families and really understand um, the core, the pillars of what makes BLCI successful. And that was when it was eye opening, but it wasn't a surprise in terms of what those core values were, or the pillars that make BLCI successful. But it really has helped us shape our curriculum, how we work with the students, the families, our partners, and just having that and being able to infuse it in the work that we're doing really has helped us push our mission, being able to work with the community, and again, really being able to share the stories and how powerful the work that we're doing with our students is meaningful. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. So we're literally going back to the first question. What are your core values, right? I mean, in this case, your dissertation tabulated, got data, and you were able to translate those into core values for the community, by the community that you, the Barrio Logan College Institute, can actually now utilize to
Mhm.
drive change and support to the same community that shared those values with you. That's really cool. That's really interesting. That's awesome. Amazing. So throughout this particular effort that you're doing with the Barrio Logan College Institute, is there anything else that you want to share at the moment before we go on to the next portion of the conversation?
Wanted to kind of share my personal
Yeah, go
achievement
ahead.
there because I do want to credit the parents at our organization.
Yep.
Uh, I grew up in a time where it was still kind of like you can speak Spanish, you can't speak Spanish here. So I did lose a lot of my language in
Okay.
speaking Spanish, even though I still understood it, and a little bit of my cultura, right? Even though I practice it at home, but just trying to what do they call it? Code switch, right? In certain spaces. But coming into BLCI, the parents really embraced that even though I guess I was pocha, you call it that, right?
Yep.
That they were willing to be patient with me and help me improve or kind of get reconnect with being able to speak Spanish and that it's okay and reconnecting with my cultura. So I just wanted to share that I'm very grateful to the parents for being able to have grace with me, but also improve my Spanish.
Yeah, so it's a twofold. It helped you
Mhm.
as well, right? It helped you reconnect with your cultura and the language, and that brings part of your identity back to who you are, and not necessarily separates it. Okay, that's really cool. That's really interesting. That's awesome. Based on that, we go off to the next phase called rapid fire. So for the next couple of questions, short answers, whatever comes to your mind. Good leaders always create good leaders. Do you have any individuals you actually look up to? Who are your mentors?
I would have to say my mentors are within our professional organization, those who have uplifted me, even when I didn't believe in myself. So, like running for, say, president for our professional organization and being a part of that board, those are the type of things that lit a fire to go to DC and do some of those things as being part of those roles and watching them. So my mentors, yeah, definitely are the ones who were there before me in my professional organizations.
Awesome, fantastic. You being a leader of this particular institute, you probably get a lot of questions like, "How's my kid doing? How can we help and support this particular effort, et cetera, et cetera?" So it's very, very focused on that, I'm assuming. But what is the one question at a personal level, professional level, that you actually wish more people would definitely ask, truly
Mm,
ask, but they seldomly do?
that's a deep question that I would want them to ask that they don't ask. I guess if they were to ask, like, I get what keeps you here year to year, right? I think because we grew up in different generations, that it's hard to find um, people who stay in their job a long time now, right? So as you can see, I've stayed in the same career path, but here at BLC, I'm going. I just celebrated 10 years, so I'm going on 11 years, and so I think yeah, if people were to really ask, like, hey, what keeps you here, right?
Yeah.
I don't get that question pretty often, so yeah.
So what really keeps you there?
I think, as I mentioned, I'm very fortunate that this is a place that puts family first,
Yeah.
so that really I wake up with joy and love being able to know that that's what I get to practice, but I also get to involve as part of my work in working with the families. They'll bring, send us to the after school program. So that's always nice. They give you a nice warm hug. So just being surrounded by a loving comunidad that I get to work with, that's what I can ask for. And working alongside an amazing staff
Yeah.
who come from a similar background and also in their heart approach it as a family first. Yeah, that keeps me there.
At a personal perspective, what I see from you is, I think what keeps you motivated there is the fact that you are able to make a difference and make an impact in individuals' lives, right? And believe it or not, you change the trajectory one way or another. You might not see it today, but you have seen it over the course of some of those graduations that you alluded to, where some of the alumni actually come back and say, hey, because of this program, and they might even throw something that you said at one given point and give you recognition at that point and acknowledge the fact that you were there to change the trajectory, right? And that makes a big impact, and it probably gives you more fuel, more fire to keep going and to say, yeah, I'm going to stay in this path for a little longer. And I see myself continuing and growing in this particular organization for a couple more years. And that's my perspective. So I hope that is correct.
Yeah, that's a good way to sum it up. Yes.
Awesome. So being in the era of Marvel and superheroes and whatnot,
Uh,
what is your superpower? What do you believe your superpower to be?
I would like to say building supportive relationships.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Building
That
supportive relationships.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really like to connect with people. I like to be more in person, even though I know we have a lot of online meetings, but just connecting meaningful, supportive relationships. I would like to say that's something that if you want to call it a superhero power, but that just one of I would say one of my biggest
That's
assets.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for. Being that connector, being that individual that likes to connect and provide effort and support to the individuals that you actually connect with, right? Great. Is there any particular book, movie, or podcast that you believe has made an impact in your life and you wish more people would actually take advantage of?
Well, the one that stands out because it's recent and I had time to when I have time to sit and read was the Sonia Sotomayor, her book and telling her story of growing up in New York and her trajectory to where she's at. Although we were different careers in terms of the path and the struggles, coming from a Latino background really resonated with me and inspired me. So that would be one person I would love to meet, just as Sonia Sotomayor. So yeah.
Right. Right now, what is your definition of success? And we're going through the difference in how education systems are going and what you've been able to achieve. But for you at a personal level, what is your definition of success?
Wow. I know there's different ways we can answer success, but I know that you're asking like right now.
Yeah.
Um, right now, if I were to say success is being able to wake up, taking the good and the bad that's happening right now, and make a plan to move on to that next step. And so, for instance, if it's educating our parents in terms of their rights, as far as like what's happening right now with um, our climate, right, when it comes to immigration and so forth, I would have felt that we've done something if we can wake up every day and informing, educating, whatever that situation is, and that we made a difference in terms of our families are able to avoid or overcome what's happening right now.
Okay, so being able to educate and help people overcome what is happening right now and make a strategy or a plan at a local level to try
Mhm.
to protect somebody and support some of those individuals. Okay, great. The last question is, let's close our eyes. Let's close your eyes. And I want you to go back to that foggy, truly foggy morning in the Fresno area. You're 12 years old, more or less, and you're in that row of grapevines trying to wrap them up, and you're thinking about, oh, I gotta hurry up because I have that basketball tournament, right? And all of a sudden you just let go of that vine and it slaps you across the face, and you feel this stinging sensation in your cheek, and all of a sudden you're able to see you are there right now, and you say, Cristinita, ven para acá. I want to spend a couple minutes and I want to tell you 3 big pieces of advice that will help you. What would you say to your younger self?
Oh, wow. Now it gets me emotional. Not to be afraid to ask for help. I've been very stubborn. That's been a long thing I've had to learn is to ask for help. And in moments when you think you're not loved, you're loved. And to be proud of where you come from.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. And, asking for help is not necessarily a sign of weakness, it's a strength, recognizing what you know and what you don't know, right? And definitely being proud of where you come from is difficult for a lot of our community because when you're growing up and you say, my parents were janitors, you're like, you don't feel as a child, you don't feel proud because they're not holding engineering lawyer titles or they're not holding that title that you would hope for them to hold, right? But at the same time, you have to be proud because that's where you came from and it shows hard work, it shows dedication, it shows persistence. So making sure that that is something that we all learn is very, very important. So with that, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to add from our conversation at this point, Cristina?
Stay positive. Like I said, I always lead as my value with family and surround yourself with those that are going to support you. My other value is gratitude. I wake up every day being thankful for what I have. Because, like I said, what's always ingrained in my mind is that saying that my dad said, here's what you're going to end up if you don't get an education. So I always wake up just being thankful to wake up. And I know that it'll be a good day. Mind you, there's going to be those tough days, but if you can wake up with that mindset, we're going to be able to accomplish a lot more.
Awesome, fantastic. And with that, I want to acknowledge you for your trajectory, your 10 years, 11 years at the Barrio Logan College Institute. Thank you so much for your efforts there. For the 26 years of advocating for higher education and education access for first-gen students. Thank you so much for that. And I definitely want to thank you for doing this interview with me. And to the audience, thank you for listening. I hope that you learn from Cristina Aguirre and you share her story and you can definitely connect with her. With that, thank you so much. Doctora Cristina, muchas gracias, mucho gusto. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gracias a ti.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please feel free to reach out to Doctora Cristina Aguirre with any questions. See you next time. Hasta luego. Bye-bye.